questions. These are the most trickiest question type, most trickiest and the most time consuming question type, and this is something kind of like a little bit massive, and you will have to have your 150% concentration, or else you are going to miss out on a lot of questions. But I am not saying you these all things so that you would get demotivated, but giving you a general picture. So this question types requires you to match heading in the question to the correct paragraph. Okay, what they will do is they will give you 5 paragraphs, and whatever would be the main idea of those paragraphs, you would have to match it with the correct heading, whichever you think is the correct heading. And there will always be more headings than paras, meaning there will be always be more options. So then it becomes more like difficult for you to match it, because you would get confused. So some of the headings will not be used. This you should be clear with. Don't get confused at the last moment. Also, it will be possible that some of the para or tests may not be included in the task. If there are 5 paragraphs, out of those 5, only the heading would be for 4. Correct 4 headings would be there. Sometimes some paragraph or some text is not even included in the task. This task type is used with text that contain paragraphs that have clear defined themes. Like first paragraph would say about something, the next paragraph about something else, and only such type of text are used here. It tests your ability to recognize the main idea of the paragraph, and I think this is really important. What does it do? It tests your ability to recognize the main idea of the paragraph, how well you can understand the paragraph's essence. But why are these questions so tricky? So the reason being, it takes more time than other questions to complete. So it takes more time than other questions to complete. Often there are more headings. Often there are more headings than paragraphs. So options are more than the number of paragraphs. Some paragraphs do not need headings. You were reading the paragraphs again and again, but actually it didn't even require a heading in the first place. They were not included in the task. There are some similarities between the headings. You would read that a paragraph's main idea had 2 similar headings. So you will get confused within 2 options. Heading is that only includes specific detail rather than main idea to mislead you. So it will include only specific details, and you would think, oh, this is the right heading, but it is not the main idea of the paragraph, and it's there to confuse you. Some headings have the same words that are in a paragraph, but they do not match. They're not the exact heading. They just give you some words so that, oh, you are finding keywords here and there, so you get to know, you get confused and you take the wrong answer. Now strategies is, first and foremost, read each of the heading. What does it mean? That read each option, the options given to you, okay, so that you have an idea what they are talking about. Circle the keywords within the headings. So underline headings such as names, places, dates and nouns. Connecting the correct heading to the appropriate paragraph may become easier with this step. So underline the keywords. This is something common we do in all the question types. Any similarities or differences between the headings should be noted. If there is a similarity between headings or there are differences between headings, it should be noted. In such questions, headings are often very similar and completely opposite. Similarities and differences will become clearer among the headings once you have picked out the keywords. This will make choosing an option clearer, because you will understand which is a better appropriate option. Read the first and the last sentence of the paragraph. The first and last sentence of a paragraph often contains the main idea. It is good practice to read the sentences carefully, as it saves time. What happens most of the time, people are so in a hurry and panicky situation that they read it in such a hurry and they don't understand it. So you're wasting your time also, because at the end you will have to end up reading again. So read it carefully and it will save your time. And all these tricks and tips are there to not make you panic, so that you feel prepared once you have gone through the question types. It is also important to skip the other sentences quickly within the paragraph. So you can quickly read it, skim the passage, skim the between lines, or just skip it. The heading that is the most suitable for the paragraph should be chosen. Most suitable, they said. Most suitable should be chosen. Change the heading that most closely matches the main idea. Most closely. Why they have said this thing? Because there will be many heading options which would seem similar to what you are trying to say. Make a note if you are unsure of the differences between multiple headings or more. You may be able to cross some headings option out in answers, and or maybe complete it. So once you have solved the rest of the paragraphs, remember that a heading is the main idea of the paragraph and not a specific detail. So what they're trying to say here is that suppose you get 5 paragraphs and you get 7 options of matching heading type. You have to match the heading. Now out of this 7, you also know that only if 4, suppose 4 paragraphs are there, only 4 will be the correct one and the remaining 3 would be the wrong ones. So what you do is, if you're stuck on this para, for example, don't waste time reading and solving only this para. Go on, move forward to this para, and at the end, ultimately out of those 7 headings, you will be able to cross few of them that, oh, this does not match to any of the ideas. Okay, these 3 are used in the 3 paragraphs, so now only these 2 remain. That way you have shortlisted, without wasting your time, you have shortlisted the most suitable answers. The other thing that they're saying is that always remember that heading, whatever the heading, would be the main idea of the paragraph and not a specific detail. My paragraph number 2 talks about tiger population, and it states that saving tiger population would helpful for the ecosystem. But in general, they are talking about tiger population, and in the heading they said this, saving tiger population. No, this would be the wrong option. Why? Because it's talking about the statistics and numbers of tiger population. They just mentioned one line that saving tiger population would be a good thing for our ecosystem. Now, you read that line, you didn't understand the main idea, and you take a paragraph's heading because you thought that it's matching. No, it is matching, but it's matching a specific detail and not the main idea. So you have to take care of that. The same detail in the paragraph, such as matching word, may be in the heading, but it may not be the main idea. This can be confusing to test takers. That is what they're trying to say. Tips: do not read everything in the paragraph. Okay, make sure you are not tricked by extra headings. There'll be some extra headings which might get you confused. Try to find out the topic, sentence, or main idea of each paragraph. Mostly reading the first and the last sentence helps. This is a band 9 tip. What happens is, people who don't know these tips end up reading all the paragraphs. Now imagine you get 5 paragraphs and each paragraph has, for example, 20 lines. So 20 into 5 is, you'd be end up reading 100 lines. And if you take even more than 20 minutes to just read, even just to read you're taking 20 minutes, and you are left with what, 40 minutes now. And now with this 40 minutes you have to solve all the other questions. So have a habit of reading just the first and last line. If in case you do not understand even after reading the first and last line, then skim through the passage really quickly. Read the passage in sequence. Okay, never go from here to there. Although this question type does not follow the chronological order as we have studied in earlier lectures, but still you read the passages at least in sequence, because the correct options would not be in chronology, but you would be able to relate the ideas. Expect to read paraphrased information. So there will be a lot of time that the information will be paraphrased. Now, what are the key skills that you require for such question types? First is skimming. Skimming is reading rapidly in order to get a general overview of the material. We know this very nicely. We have to learn how to skim. Skim doesn't mean that I have read it but I do not understand it. So you have to develop this habit of reading fast. You're just like reading rapidly to get a general idea, the main idea, reading text and working out the meaning from the surrounding context info given. No, you just don't have to read it fast, but you have to read so that you can get the gist of the paragraphs. Now, reading a text, deducing, reading a text and working out the meaning from the surrounding context and info given. So it's not just that you're reading the text, but you are able to find out the meaning from the surrounding context and whatever the information is given. Surveying. It is a broad look at the text, focusing on the general aspects rather than details, with the main purpose being to decide on the value of the text to determine which paras are worth reading more closely. So this is all basically a judgment call, and you will have the judgment call clearer as you practice more. All these tips and tricks are band 9 tips and tricks, and you won't get these tips and tricks anywhere else, at least for free. People generally spend around 10,000 rupees for such classes to attain information, but here you are getting it for no cost at all. So the least you can do is, for booming YouTubers like me, you could subscribe my channel, and if you really got some information out of my video and learned something new, like the video, share it with other friends of yours who are preparing for Ielts and does not have that kind of time or money lying around to give to those such big massive institutions. And you can turn on the post notification bell for more updates, because I'm going to put in a lot of YouTube videos of such kinds. So you can always support booming businesses, or for this matter like booming YouTubers. And you can also comment down below if you want to solve more and more practice questions with me, and you want to see a little bit change in my studying or in my teaching style. A constructive and positive criticism is always welcome. Moving on, you can use any letter more than once. Any option can be used more than once. Here, there will be many options given to you, A, B, C, D. Especially in the types where you would have to match a specific person to a statement. So, now when you look at the question sentences, they might be longer and difficult to detect in the passage. But we can look at the options. Suppose I have a matching person type question. Okay, it's a type of question where you have to match a statement said by a particular person who said this statement, and you have to look at the passage to identify it. And then they're always paraphrased. So that is the difficulty. Otherwise, it would be very easy. Then in such case, I can look at the names, I can look at the options, and then identify them in the passage. Suppose there are 4 names given to me: Ram, Sham, Bharat and Dashrath. Okay, or if you are an international person, he doesn't recognize with this concept. Let's say we have a person A, B, C and D. So when I look at these names, these options, I would look at this option, quickly go through the paragraph where all these names are mentioned. Most of the times they give you, not most of the time, always I think they give you more options than it is actually mentioned in the paragraph. C और D के बारे में तो कुछ दिया ही नहीं होगा पैराग्राफ में. These are just given to confuse you. A और B का multiple time statements दिया होगा, and you will get confused if you get too similar. Like अगर आपके पास 2 statement आए, both were said by person B, you will then get confused there that how come both the correct options can only be B, and you will end up writing a wrong option. So the same names can be mentioned more than once. So read all the statements. Okay, even if a B person has said 2 statements, read both the statements. If there are 2 statements by a particular person that is given in the option, read both the statements mentioning their name. So when we will do this, by doing this, we will see few names like option number this or that were not even mentioned in any of the paragraphs or passage itself, and they wrote these names just to confuse us. So they will give us more options than required, and we would get confused. Okay, and that's like, for example, Jennifer Aniston. How come Jennifer Aniston option could be repeated twice? But that is the case. If your name is not mentioned and Jennifer is saying those sentences so many times, different things she is saying, and then you have to mark Jennifer Aniston as the correct option. So with this, we have eliminated the wrong options and got specific lines to read instead of the whole passage. Now we can match the sentence written in the passage with the name, with that given in the question, and which would be paraphrased in itself. Another tip is that in matching type questions, we match keywords from the passage to the statement. From the passage to the statement. Keywords that are used to... What happened in other question types is that first we used to read the question and then we would highlight the keywords, and we would then match those keywords from the question to the passage. But now what we will be doing is we would match the keywords from the passage to the statement, so that we can know that the statement is given correctly in the question, because we are trying to answer a correct option. For complete each sentence, sentence type, each sentence with correct ending, that is matching sentence ending, every time they give more options than the questions. This is done to confuse you. And this is why we will underline the keywords from the starters, then paragraphs to find it. Just find the keywords from sentence starters, because sentence endings can be anywhere or may not even be mentioned in the paragraph. So try and underline keywords from the sentence starters and not the enders. Now matching heading or info type questions में क्या होता है? These are the most popular questions that we have already learned that. One passage can have numerous paragraphs and each para is written with some agenda, topic or main idea. We have to work to look for that main idea. This main idea is known as the theme of the passage. For confusion, they give more number of options and more number of paragraphs. They give you headings in paragraphs. We have to match keywords from the paragraphs to heading. Paragraph से keywords match करना है option का, heading का, not the other way around as we were doing in the previous questions. Not from heading to para. So you will look at the para, match that keyword from the options given. Previously we used to match the keywords from the question to para, but that doesn't work here. Alright.